You wrote a book called Father Yourself First. What
Yeah.
does that mean? What does it mean to father yourself?
Oh man, as we grow up, we mature, we get into relationships. Uh, you know, the inner child comes out, right? The the struggling child that wants to be a part of something uh comes out, and it almost feels like you notice it more when parents have adult children, and all of a sudden they start throwing tantrums when they're not getting their way.
That's right.
Right. And so what happens is I recognize a tantrum because I've seen so many of my children go through tantrums. And I'm like, okay, cool. Uh, there's parts of me that I have tantrums with throughout the day, and I could duck off into a corner or walk outside or whatever and hide those things. But I need to deal with that. Where's the insecurity? Where's this stuff coming from? And so there's a point of like my life I got to, I was like, man, my dad, lived in California. I lived in Baltimore, right? So I only saw him on the summer times. And when we saw each other, it just was all kind of like happy, happy, happy as much as we can. And, so I didn't get a lot of that raising, like tough love, all that stuff. And so I had the capacity to be a good father to my children. I need that same voice. So
That's
I've
right.
reconstructed my inner voice to be the voice of myself as a father, my wife's voice, and then my therapist. And I've really been fathering myself through a lot of these conversations, a lot of these things that we're going through. And so often, because Yvette will watch me, she'll be like, oh, I see how you did that, because I'm literally talking myself through things and telling myself, hey, you are going to be fine. This is no reason to freak out. Things happen. And, leading myself to a place of calm uh, because that's what I need. And that's what I give to my children. So yeah, that's what it means. But in the book, I walk through instances and moments and stories from the YouTube channel about how we stopped posting and how, my son didn't trust me and all these different things where I had to be like, whoa, because I feel myself having a tantrum here. Uh,
Hmm.
and what happens in the future is that, our children will be adults and they would decide not to come home for Christmas. And we would sit there and we would try to figure out a way to manipulate them into feeling bad and guilty and get them to come to us. And then when they get here, we treat them like crap. Uh, and so I don't want to do that. I don't want to have any of that a part of my system. So my hope is that through what I've taught myself and what I've learned through writing this book, that I'll be able to raise myself for the occasion to be the father that my children need me to be in the future.
I really commend you for that. I commend both of you as a couple for that. And he's holding up the book, Father Yourself First. Available where?
Everywhere. Amazon,
Everywhere.
Barnes and Noble. Hey, you still shop at Target? It's at Target.
Father Yourself First. And Released Rest. And
Remain.
Also, audio books as well.
so Glenn wrote Father Yourself First. Yvette's book is Release, Rest, Remain. Find those books wherever you shop for your books. What I commend you on, both of you, as a couple, is that you very often people focus on what they don't have as if it's lost forever. So I didn't have the type of blank mother, father, sister, brother, cousin, uncle who provided this. And therefore, I'm going to walk through my life with that loss.
Mm.
And what I commend both of you for, and specifically relating to this book, and we'll get to the other one in a moment, is creating a space within yourself where you could confront the child inside of you enough to create and build a trust relationship, a safe relationship with that part of yourself, the young Glenn
Mhm.
inside of yourself. And that takes work for sure, but it also takes a tremendous amount of courage. And it also requires some forethought because, like you said, at some point you all are going to be looking at adult people that you raised. And for all the parents, and I'll mention parental estrangement because it is a thing that people are talking about now, like I've never heard it spoken about before, talking about what parental estrangement looks like and what happens and what you see and hear in those individuals who are not happy with the relationship that they're in with their adult children is a total lack of awareness most of the time. What you don't hear is, you know what, I kind of messed that up, or I was healing, or I was growing. And some of that, while I was in the laboratory of my life, spilled onto my children. So I'm going to acknowledge that to you because I know better. So I'm going to do better. And I'm going to acknowledge that. I don't think that our children are the most captive an audience that you will ever have. They're there, just waiting for you to pour, receiving what you're pouring in. And the process of parenting, there are mistakes that are made, right? Especially if you haven't had a chance to do your own work. But it's important. It's not the thing that you do, it's how you treat them that are affected by the thing that you do. I think any child is willing to hear, okay, I messed up. I'm really sorry. This is what happened. I'm going to fix it. That's the thing. Not that you're not completely all grown up or all healed up when you have your children, because who is? And nobody expects the job to be as as all encompassing as it is.
Yeah, I agree with that so much. Just having the awareness is most of it, right?
That's right.
It's like, hey, I understand that I put you in a position to not trust me. And I know I don't deserve your trust, but if you can give me some time, I will spend the rest of my life trying to get this right.
That's what people want to hear.
Yeah, it's very simple. The hard part is, as soon as, and this is like rampant, like every time I hear someone talk about this and every time I see another person talking about this, it's always the same thing. Well, you don't understand what I had to do. Like you don't get it. And I'm like,
you mean from the parent?
From the parent. From the parent. It's just like your generation. And so I already know right now that I'm going to have to apologize for a lot of crap. I'm already kind of like, that's going to jack him up. Even if he's not, that's going to jack him up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I know that I at least want to be able to say, hey, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to figure out what's wrong with me in this area because I don't want you to have to walk on eggshells around me.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult. It's very simple, but there's a detachment from some parental figures for sure.